Okay, so to click the demo off, if I'm starting with a large group of people that are totally new to Mote and they haven't been able to, for lots of different reasons, push out Mote through their admin console, and it requires manual installation, I will take Mote off my own browser and install as follows. So I've headed over to Chrome Web Store and I've found Mote, and I'd like to join these 1 million plus users that have got it all aboard the Mote boat. So very simple for me to do. I just go to Add to Chrome, give the required permissions, and then you'll see now Mote has been added to Chrome. What I would encourage you to do at this point is to find Mote using the puzzle piece here and just pin it. The reason being is that lots of the functionality of Mote comes from having it on the browser itself, so I would definitely encourage everyone to do that. The other thing that I would do just before starting and kicking your demonstrations off is to tap on the Mote button and make sure that you are signed in, and you can do this just with your Google account. And once you've done this, you will be ready to go. So I'm going to close these tabs down, and I work from Google Classroom, but you don't have to by any means. Everything that I'm going to be demonstrating could be replicated entirely just using particular applications from within Google's workspace, for example, Google Docs. But just for neatness, and also because it's a nice format and framework for me to have, I do it through Google Classroom. So what I'm going to do first of all is jump onto the first piece of work, which is a Google Doc. And to introduce Mote, I'm going to encourage the people in my session to tap on the Mote button. When you do this, obviously we are now signed in, as you are taken to this lovely drop-down menu that has lots of different features. If you had used Mote previously, you'll have a few Motes in your My Recent Mote collection, and you can also see things like how many Motes you have created. But what I'd encourage you to do is to focus some of your session on understanding this voice to text in particular. We're not going to go through the other toggles now, but just voice to text. I'll leave it off and I'll show you what happens. So I'm just going to highlight the title. I'm going to tap where I would typically leave a comment. So because I have Mote installed, I've got the Mote button that appears within the comment itself. I can still type, but I'm going to leave a voice note. And remember, I didn't toggle on speech to text just for now. Very impressed with what you've done in this assignment. I can't wait to see how it progresses. And just in the interest of time and to show people how quickly it is to capture and share your voice, I'm then going to tap on comment, and I've now done it. I've created my first Mote voice note that actually sits nice and safely within this Google Doc comment. Very impressed with what you've done in this assignment. Okay, so I'm going to close this down and I'm going to jump back up to the menu, but this time I'm going to toggle on voice to text. When you're choosing voice to text, a couple of things to remember here is choose the accent that best suits your own. For example, for me, I would choose English UK, but I know for lots of our users, for example, those in the US, would go ahead and choose English US. I'm going to choose English UK. And just as a reminder, if you are teaching, for example, in a world language class, or maybe you've got some English language learners, they too can actually choose a different language for speech to text. And that can actually, amongst other things, provide a nice means by which students can self-test the accuracy of their pronunciation. But for now, we're just looking at the simple elements, and I'm going to stick with my own language and my own accent, English UK. This time when I leave a voice note, you'll notice something a little bit different. Same process, tapping on add a comment, and again on the Mote button. Please could you let me know what the other 5 cities are? Now this time, it will have captured, Mote has captured a voice to text transcription. When I tap on the pencil, it allows me to edit that transcript. So here we go. It will pop up in just a second. And you can see it's captured a perfect transcription of what I just said. If I notice that there were any errors or anything that I wanted to change, perhaps to change some of the punctuation, I can just drop my cursor in and I can add either extra text or maybe even an emoji, which I know is popular amongst some of our community. Saving this, the Mote will be saved and I can then go to exit. As you see now, the exit button's appeared. And when I tap on comment, this time anyone with Mote, so in this case it's myself and the student, can listen to the voice note just as we did before, but they also get this transcription below. Okay, next thing that we're going to look at, so we've looked at voice as a really good use case for feedback. Just before I leave a private comment, so the kind of summative comment that I might leave on this piece of work, I'm going to resolve this and I'm going to show you something called a HyperMote. Now we all know that sometimes if you leave comments in the body of a doc, someone else jumping on the page might close that down. And we don't necessarily always want that to happen with our voice notes. So what we're able to do using HyperMote is to highlight any element, in this case it's text, but it could be an image as well. And what we can do is we can effectively embed audio into the body of a Google Doc. So I'll say that again, with Mote you can embed audio into the body of a Google Doc. I'm just going to zoom in a tiny bit here. And this time I'm not going to tap on the comment, I'm going to go to the button above which allows me to add a HyperMote. This HyperMote, the window can be moved around, and what I'm able to do is to tap on this button as I'm instructed to. Hi everyone, before you jump into the next part of this doc, what I'd really encourage you to do is to look at some of the materials and some of the discussions that we've had over in Google Classroom. I can listen to the audio back as you see. What I'll do though is I'll go to insert, and when I do this you'll notice I've got a hyperlink. Students will click on this, I promise you, and when they do, with Mote installed, they get this. They get a pop-up audio, so a audio card that appears in the middle of their Google Doc that they can play and also view the transcription. Okay, so that's something called HyperMote. It's a relatively recent addition to Mote's feature set and one that I'd really encourage both you and your learners explore. Next thing we're going to look at is adding a voice note to private comments. We have a new feature called Mote Loops, which is currently in beta, so I won't demonstrate this as part of this particular video, but do make sure to subscribe and look at our other resources where that will be covered shortly. So for now, I'm just going to go over here and I'm going to leave a comment, a voice note for this student. Please could you make sure that you go through all of the feedback that I have left for you. Thank you. Just like before, I'm going to check on the transcription just to make sure that it came out as I would like. And it did, so this is just ready to go. I'm going to exit and I'm going to tap on post. You will have noticed though that this was the sort of feedback that I might like to use across different assignments for different students and even in different classes. So I can save my voice notes to something called the Mote book in the following way. I'm going to reopen the transcription dialog box and I'm then going to click on this middle button, Save As. So let's just say I'm going to call that Feedback Review. And you'll see I have a notification here to say that it's been saved. Now, once it's been saved, I can reuse that voice note somewhere else. So let's say I'm going to go for this same assignment. I'm going to jump into View Assignment and I'm going to go to a peer of Dwight's, in this case it's Jim. To access the Mote book, what I need to do and what my students need to do is to long press on the Mote button, in this case it's in the bottom right hand corner. And once I've done this, you'll see that my Mote book pops up. This is the feedback that I just left. You can see when I hover the cursor over, it gives me a little pop-up of what the transcription was. I'm happy with this, and I could then go ahead and share this with the student. However, I'm going to actually put this into Jim's mother tongue, which is not English, it is actually French. So very easily what I can do, as you saw there, is tap on the translate button. I'll just take you back, go to translate, then to French, and it's going to take that transcription, and as you can see, that has translated it into French for me. Tapping on save, just as we did previously, and then to exit. When I post this and share it with this particular student, they still get the original audio, and then below they have the transcription also. Whilst we're in Google Classroom, it is worth stating that lots of teachers have found voice notes a really powerful means by which they can share feedback as whole class feedback. So that means they don't have to give it to all of their students individually. They can head over to class comments, tap on the Mote button and say something like this. Hi everyone, very impressed with the work that I've looked at so far. please could you make sure that you look a little bit more closely at questions number 3 and 5. Thank you. This is now done, and that is now there for all of my students to access. This is about the point in a demonstration at which people will say, what if my students are accessing on a device that doesn't have Mote installed? For example, they're accessing on a phone or an iPad, or maybe they are using a browser outside of Chrome. The first two are probably the most common situations in which this question arises. So what I would then encourage you to do is to share with them this view. This is a landing page of a Mote. Landing pages can be accessed through something called My Activity that you can get to by tapping on the extension and going to My Activity and Engagement. I'll show you that at the end of the demo. You could jump straight there now if you'd like to. But the point being is that whether you're accessing on a mobile device or, as I say, on a browser that doesn't have Mote installed, you are taken to this page where you can see who it was that left the voice note. You can see, as you'll just see in a second, I'm going to mute it. But as the audio is playing back, I have the transcription scrolling below. So I get the audio, I have the transcription, which is nicely timed, and I'm also able to translate into other languages too. A little bit aligned with what we just saw there. So that is what I would say is, yes, the experience is definitely more fluid when everyone has Mote installed on their browsers, but it's still pretty good for those people trying to access voice notes without Mote itself. Okay. Jumping ahead now, or jumping back, I'm just going to check on the next activity that we're going to do. And it is something to do with looking at using Google Slides. Okay. Now, for quite a long time now, it has been possible to add audio onto a Google slide deck. And the way that this has been done is by a third-party recorder, most typically, downloading the audio, uploading it to Google Drive, and then finding that audio by Insert Audio. Now we've taken all of that legwork out and we do it all for you with Mote. I've got Mote installed, as we've already established, and when I'm on a Google slide deck with Mote, I have this button appear just above the deck. So I'm going to open the recorder, and once I've done that, I can click to start recording. So I'm just going to move it to the side so I remember what I'm talking about. Dwight, you have had an amazing year as assistant to the Milk Monitor. Very impressed by your punctuality and the efficiency with which you distribute the milk daily. You will recognise this has a huge similarity between HyperMote and Google Docs. So again, I'm familiar now with tapping on the insert. It's now taking the audio file, and as if by magic, it's taking that, it's putting it into my Google Drive in a folder where all of my voice notes sit nice and securely. Now, if you would like to change the image, you can do so very easily of the speaker by tapping on Replace Image. You can then find something that might be a little bit more suited to your students or maybe to the age group that you're teaching. So, for example, if you have something already saved within your Google Drive, maybe a Bitmoji, you could replace that and then drop it in. And then that is now fully accessible for anyone that you share this slide deck with. So this could also be accessed by, for example, folk at home. Maybe in this case you're sharing a certificate or it's a praise postcard, something going home. They would be able to access this if it were sent to them digitally, just by tapping on the button, and they could do that. So it is embedded within the slide deck. But what if we wanted to, maybe the example of the praise postcard, we wanted to send that home physically and not in digital format? Maybe you had the sort of parents in your classroom that like to have things to pin to the fridges. And I myself do like doing that, I have to be honest, with my own children. So you can do that with Mote. And this time we're going to use the Motepad and we're going to create an audio QR code. So to use the Motepad, I just tap once on the Mote button in the browser itself and then onto Record a Mote. And I'm going to leave a very similar voice note here for Dwight. You've had a wonderful year, well done. Very impressed with your punctuality and efficiency in never neglecting your Milk Monitor duties. Well done. And this time you'll see in the My Recent Motes that automatically opens, I have the option to click on the Share. And when I go to Share, there's a few other things, but we're going to click on QR code. And I am able to save it, which will save it to my Chrome, to my downloads of Chrome. But I'm just going to drag on the QR and bring that onto my slide deck. It's quite large, so I'm going to resize it, put it wherever I would like. And this is now ready to be printed, sent home and scanned by the folk at home. Okay, so back to my plan, and you'll see that after we've looked at Google Slides, we're then going to look at Google Forms. Google Forms have been a wonderful win, Mote for Google Forms, in allowing our users to be able to put their voice notes into Google Forms both as creator and a respondent. So in this case, you can see that I've set this form up. This is ready to go to share with my students. I'm going to jump quickly back into the edit mode so you'll see how I set it up, but it really is super self-explanatory. So let's just say that I wanted to start a new question. All I need to do is open up a question, tap on the Mote button, and I can go ahead and record. And then the questions present themselves as is shown here. So if I go back to the form itself, I'm viewing this as a respondent. So most typically this would be a student. I can listen, for example, to my teacher's voice. I can go down to hear a little bit more about the questions. So this really means that for read-along activities or for students that might require extra assistance, this is a real win as they can hear their teacher's voice. They are also able to have audio as multiple choice options. And this is where the most power comes, for example, if they were in a world language class, they can respond with their own voice. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to fill this in quickly. Now, what's great about this is that as a student, I have submitted my answers. I'm going to show you what it looks like from a teacher. So I have my student results here, so I can see from a teacher insight. But you can also play audio back from within the individual tab here, or maybe if you've got lots of students, you'd prefer to view it through a Google Sheet. So what we're able to do is to hover our cursor over any of these Mote links, and it works a lot like the functionality of those HyperMotes that we saw back within Google Docs. Brilliant use case for this would be in a world language classroom where I'm trying to listen to lots of oral student responses. Using Google Forms and Mote, I can have all of these going into a Google Sheet. The next thing on our menu is about using Google Sites and audio. So this doesn't only work with Google Sites, but if, for example, you use Canvas, or perhaps you're looking to embed into Wakelet, or even into an excellent tool such as Canva, you can follow much the same process. But this is the end result. We have a website here that has a Mote audio card that you can just click on from within the Google site itself. Hi everyone, I'm really looking forward to... We won't play the whole thing back, I'm sure you get the picture. But how did I create that? Well, if I jump back into my Google site and into the edit mode, I'm going to scroll down to the bottom and show you how I make it. So you just click, and I'm going to tap up here, just as we did with the Google Slides when we looked to create the QR code. We're going to create an embed, but we're going to do it in a pretty cool way. Welcome to my website. You'll notice that that Mote was automatically copied to my clipboard, as are all notes created using a Motepad. If I want to bring this onto my site, I can then just double tap. I can go to embed, and I don't even need to use the embed code. I can actually just do it using the URL itself, and then I can choose the whole page. And once I carefully resize it, you'll see that I've got a nice voice note, a card that's going to play back from within the body of my Google site. And anyone that accesses this Google site, be it on their phone, on an iPad, on a browser, as I'm doing now, would be able to listen to my voice. So we're going to go ahead now and look at Mote for Gmail. First thing I'm going to do is, as normal, open up a new composition box for my message, and I'm going to actually maximize this just to make it that little bit clearer to see. You'll notice just to the right of the send button at the bottom left of your message, you have this option here which says click to record a Mote. I'm going to record one quickly to show you just how easy it is to create and share your voice notes via Gmail. And you'll see I've now got this card which is in the body of my email message. I'm just going to send it to myself so you get to see how it looks. The recipient, in this case me, if they've got Mote installed, will see the card. Hi there, hope you've had a great start to the week. They can then play it back, listen to it, hear the transcription. Look forward to speaking to you soon. Bye for now. And if they didn't, then they are taken to one of those landing pages that we saw previously. So there you go. No more worrying about tone and trying to get just the right text across to make sure that you're not misunderstood. With Voice and with Mote, we take care of all of that for you. Okay, the next thing that we are going to look at is the My Activity page, because this is really important as teachers just to stay on top of activity and engagement. So you access it in a number of ways, but the easiest I find is by clicking on the extension and then on that My Activity button there. I then have all of my voice notes, and I can do some pretty cool things with them, in addition to obviously seeing the date they were created, how long they last. I can play them back, I can change their visibility. But what I'm also able to do, if I find one that was left for a particular student, in this case Dwight, I can click on his name and then I can see all of the voice notes that I've left for Dwight. And if Dwight was more than just a demo student, sadly Dwight isn't in my class, if he was more than a demo student, I would also get icons to indicate if the voice notes had been listened to or not. I'm just going to jump back to the main view, and you'll also see that you can click on your voice notes that have been noticed, i.e. have they been listened to, or those that remain unnoticed. And from here as well, as I mentioned previously, you're able to view the landing page, view their original context, and also just share there too. Speaking of the original context, we have something called sticky notes. So let's say that I wanted to share a particular page that I had found on the BBC Sport website. I would go over to the website itself, and I'm going to find an article to share. And in this case, it's an article about golf, and I'm going to share it with my class in the following way. Hi everyone, please could you take a look at this article from BBC Sport and let me know if you agree with it. I really look forward to the discussion. And once this is done, you will see the Mote link has automatically been copied to my clipboard, so I'm pasting that straight into the address bar. When I go to it, because I've got Mote installed, and the same thing will happen for all of my students, they'll be taken to the page, and on the page they'll have this voice note that they can move around and that they can engage with. They can listen to it back, they can scroll around the page, they can close it down, they can even reopening it. It just means that they haven't got to go to and fro between, for example, Google Classroom assignment and an external web resource. Okay, we're going to look at just a few other things here before we close this particular demo. The first of which is the Mote Amplifier package, which you can access from mote.com/amplifier. The Mote Amplifier package is designed for teachers and trainers and school leaders who want to have a resource through which they can level up their community's moting capabilities. So what I mean by that is it's basically a self-paced slide deck that we created in collaboration with the wonderful Paola from Slidesmania. And you'll see that it has our key features, integrations that we offer that we've covered in this video. But it does mean that when different things are accessed, so when I view it in slideshow mode, when different things are accessed, I can navigate it as I would an ebook. So we have lots of videos as well. They're all taken from our YouTube channel. So I hope that you enjoy that and that you make sure that you sign up. That is mote.com/amplifier. And then we also have a community page, mote.com/community. I'll just pause here to highlight the Mote Teachers Group, the Mote Certified Educator Program, and the Amplifier Program, and also the Mote Ambassador. I would really encourage you to click on all of these buttons and explore those and find the one that suits you, that suits your community, that suits your colleagues the most. Okay, that was all I wanted to share. I'm sure you might have one or two questions. If you do, please go ahead and send me an email, john@mote.com. I'd be delighted to hear from you, and really, more importantly, delighted to help you and your learning community not only get aboard the Mote boat, but making the most of leveraging the amazing power of voice in your learning community for this year and also beyond. Thanks very much, and until next time, keep on moting.